Felt compelled to record this part two, addendum, if you will, to my previous message on predictions for the US elections. For in my reticence and fear of, oh, this is me putting a stake in the ground on what I feel energetically could happen, and also trying to be careful about forecasting difficult events. I didn't share a lot of the detail that had come through, and I feel like that detail is even more important to see if these probabilities, maybe I misinterpreted it, or maybe more likely, I feel like the energy shifted around some of these probabilities. And so I want to lay it all out for you. And that way, this gets to be an experiment. Like you and I can both feel into, hey, like what feels right in your body? What does your intuition say? And we get to use our 3D reality perception and understand, maybe this did end up happening, but a little differently. And so it's always good to have specific data to go back and retrospectively analyze. I am certainly a logic and data oriented person, although I think that's superseded by my flowiness and intuition. At least I've allowed that to be the case, and it feels more like the real me over the last multiple years. And so I'm feeling chills as I said that. Felt important to acknowledge. Let me share what I got. Let me also mark this point in time. So today is the day after the US election. So understand that that bias is there, and that's also spurring me to what did I really channel and what's happened and what do I think will happen? If you, I want to note this, if you are in a triggered place, if you are feeling like your emotions are running high around this result, whatever they might be, I recommend that you don't listen to this right now. Wait for regulation. I will be recording a calming guided meditation and message from the records as well. So look for that option. I'll put it up here and link it if you're on YouTube. And you'll be able to scroll through my podcast and find it as well. There's many grounding and calming meditations. So trust that your body can navigate to a resource that works for you, be it on my channel or platform or elsewhere. Um, and just sending you all love for whatever called you to listen to this. I certainly know and I wish to acknowledge that I have bias, like real active bias in the room where, of course, I want a certain outcome. I'm not seeing that outcome that I expected for the election. And so, what does that mean? I thought Kamala Harris would win, and I was hoping Trump wouldn't. Mm, based on my beliefs, based on my trust in candidates who will pull through policies that I stand behind, and I can go down a path of explaining, justifying my thoughts and beliefs, but we all are entitled to our thoughts and beliefs. Like we're human. We deserve that. We are able to live in greater harmony and be able to live out our truth in a way that you couldn't even decades before to hundreds and thousands of years ago. There were so many societies we've lived through where it was all about the collective belief and thought and less about the individual. So, while honoring that, but also trying to make sense of it all, here's what I had actually channeled and what I believe is to come, given what I channeled before. So, as a backup to my original timeline, in late July, I had gotten, and I'll keep referencing my notes on my phone here, I had gotten that Kamala will become president, and I had gotten that Trump would expire before that. And so, um, and I had gotten that that might happen in the month of October, which didn't come to pass. And so kept feeling into it, checked in with my intuitive friends who I practice with, channel with, and they had started to get a message that was more around, oh, he will go through some kind of legal trouble or issue that would prevent him from um, being elected or becoming president. And I started to feel into that probability, and I kept getting a yes, like that is probable. I wasn't getting a yes around him expiring. And so I was like, maybe the energy is shifted. And then come after, so I got that message through my friends and I validated it. This was in early September around Labor Day. And so let's come to around September 15th. I had written down some messages of me channeling. Um, it was like at night. I have my timestamps too. It's 11:42 when I had written all this. And I had checked in again and like, what's the energy and probability of Kamala winning? And I got 100%. But when I had asked, it was more like her becoming president. I reframed the question. I ended up asking it this way. I asked, will she get elected to president? And I got a no. And if you go back to my previous message video or podcast episode, you'll hear how I describe how I receive my yes, no's and my body and how I feel into that clairsentience. So that'll make more sense. So I'm not going into that here. And then I heard clairaudiently from my guides, she will be the de facto winner. There will be no one else, which came back to the same theory as before, which was something's going to happen such that she will become this default winner. I had to Google what de facto meant. Like, I'm like, I think I've learned this back in the day in civics or social studies or some subject like that. And I'm had to go back, Google search it. It's fascinating when words come in that you think you know, but you don't really know. And I know I couldn't have made that up. That was me hearing my guides. It's validation for me. Um, And so now I'm sitting with, well, she didn't get elected to president. They have declared Trump the winner. What might happen? And if you go back to my previous podcast episode slash YouTube video, you'll hear me channel real time, seeing Kamala, like I could see her face like almost up on a stage and a lot of people clapping. This could mean many things. This just could mean her giving a speech after her accepting defeat and the audience cheering. It could mean that. But as I'm just going to check in live with my guides, with you all, and see what they're saying. Just taking a deep breath, you're welcome to channel with me if you wish to receive. I find it powerful to ask questions, so I'm going to ask this in a pointed question answer way. Will Kamala get elected to president? But will she become president somehow? So I got a no for the first question, and I got a yes for the second question. Um, will that happen soon, or will that happen before inauguration, before the I don't know if it's called oath ceremony. I feel like it's called inauguration, but whatever ceremony happens in January, will she be declared president by then? Um, but somewhere in the next year. I got a no for by inauguration day, which was interesting. I had watched the one of maybe two total videos I've watched online about predictions around the election, and somebody had suggested that, you know, come inauguration day, she could see Kamala Harris. And so I was kind of holding out hope for that too. So knowing that I am definitely searching for a certain outcome, like I would never agree to channel this if I had bias and some client was really seeking. But I'm the client here. I'm seeking information and trying to hold space for a biased version of me and a version of me that's curious, like, oh, can we feel into what's going to happen? So, with that acknowledgement, I am um, trying to tune into what is about to happen. So it sounds like Trump is going to come into power. That's a given, yes. Um, but then I guess what I'm logically struggling with is if he were to expire, say, and again, speaking all in theory, this is not me wishing any ill will or calling in any reality, just trying to practice reading as a practitioner here. Um, and so yeah, I keep getting yes, like he has won the election. And will he be sworn in as president? No. But then at the same time, you're saying that come January 20th, I saw some date of that sort. And maybe I should ask, like, whenever they get sworn in as president, will Kamala Harris be sworn in? I guess inauguration day may be separate from swearing in. I'll pick some language, but to me, it's like when she gets this official title, it'll be her. And that will be in January. Okay, now I'm getting a yes. Um, was this confusing because I used the term inauguration? Okay, I'll just use like her being sworn in as president. Ah, can you see now, even me just working with different questions and getting slightly contradictory things? I'm trying to clarify what's happening. What does this really mean? And so, sharing all that with you, perhaps there's a probability that exists that means that something happens between now and early next year that could change things. Logically, am I bought in? No, because I think legally I could be mistaken. I am no expert on this. That if Trump were to expire, then Vance would come to power as like the elected vice president. I don't think Kamala Harris is the acting vice president right now. I believe, like, once the elections are done. But if someone knows more about this, please let me know because I'm open to education around this. Um, just also sending love if you happen to be listening to this and like very pro. No, I need Trump to be in power. Like, how can you talk about all of this? I hold space for that. And I hope you can hold space for my truth as well and my beliefs and thoughts, as I said at the start. Um, yeah, but just needing to acknowledge like me as a human, setting aside practitioner me for a moment, that it feels very hard. Like I'm surprised that it needs to happen this way, that Trump comes to power and maybe he's like not able to be president. Yeah, it's crazy. It's wild. I actually ended up freezing for a moment as I talked about that. So um I'm going to edit that out, but it was just an interesting feel into the energy. Anyway, um it feels like any messages from my guides are complete, that I get the sense they're telling me about how this will all make sense eventually, but they acknowledge that this is hard. And they're saying to take time to rest and to slow as best as you can, to process, to grieve, and to understand and make sense of it all. Like I feel this energy of protection. And so I am sending and amplifying that to us all listening, that maybe be protected, maybe keep our hope and light going, maybe feel safe, maybe cultivate safety within ourselves and our homes, our families and friends and communities, even if we feel threatened, even if we're worried. This is human me asking for this from my guides for us all. Um, with that, time will tell if this message ends up making sense. And if it doesn't make any sense at all, either I will keep it up, I will delete it for sheer embarrassment, like it didn't make any sense and I got it. So I don't know what to make of my messages there. I know that I don't have to always be right as an intuitive and psychic. And sometimes we receive the messages we need to hear. So perhaps that's why I heard this message to keep me hopeful through this process. Um, I will certainly come back and reflect should anything change come January 2025. And I thank you for listening and being on this journey with me. It's part of the reason I started to record all this, is to share the the wonkiness, the weird things that happen, the uncertainty, the I don't know, but I'm going to keep sharing my truth and talking. And hopefully that encourages you to do the same in your own unique way on your path. Sending you much love.